famous kidnapping cases involving UFOs. Kidnapped aboard a spaceship. In the small rural community, the Andreessen family led a peaceful and humble life. Betty, a homemaker, always dedicated her time to caring for her family and tending to their small garden. One chilly evening, as the twinkling lights illuminated their wooden home, the Andreessen family was abruptly halted by a sudden power outage. Before they could determine the cause, a strange light began to shine through the small kitchen window. Betty and the other members of the family couldn't help but be astonished as they saw 5 unfamiliar figures advancing. They looked unlike any creatures they had ever seen before, and their minds became filled with confusion as strange images blurred their thoughts. In a moment, the entire family was mesmerized by an invisible force, falling into a state of suspended animation. Betty and her father, seemingly controlled by an unseen force, were put into this state. Upon waking up, Betty realized she was lying on a spaceship, surrounded by an unfamiliar environment. She couldn't move or speak, only sensing the pain from the unclear experiments being conducted by the strange beings. Nearly 4 hours later, Betty returned home with a blurry memory of what had transpired on the spaceship. Her family, released from their trance-like state, couldn't comprehend what Betty had gone through. 5 years after the strange event, Betty still felt haunted and anxious about the unclear memories. Despite undergoing psychological treatment and examination by experts, Betty still couldn't fully explain or understand what had happened to her on the strange spaceship. But even though the events may forever remain a mystery, the story of Betty Andreessen and her experience still remains a part of legend and debate about encounters with extraterrestrial beings. The encounter at Allagash. The vast expanse of the Allagash wilderness stretched out before them, a world of towering pine trees and serene lakes shrouded in mist. Jack and Jim Weiner, twin brothers with a shared passion for adventure, stood at the water's edge alongside their friends Chuck Rack and Charlie Faltz. They had been planning this camping trip for months, eagerly anticipating the chance to explore the rugged beauty of northern Maine's wilderness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the still waters of Eagle Lake, the 4 friends set out in their canoe, their laughter echoing through the quiet of the forest. They paddled gently, soaking in the tranquility of the evening and the anticipation of the adventures ahead. But their peaceful stroll took a terrifying turn when they spotted a strange light in the sky above them. At first, they dismissed it as a trick of the dusk, a distant star, or perhaps a passing plane. But as they watched, the light began to pulse and flicker, casting an eerie glow over the darkening landscape. Curiosity soon turned to fear as the light grew brighter and closer, descending toward the lake. Chuck's heart pounded as he fumbled for his flashlight, hands trembling with a mixture of excitement and dread. With a shaky click, he illuminated the object hovering overhead, revealing a metallic craft unlike anything they had ever seen. The UFO hung in the sky, its shiny surface gleaming in the moonlight as it emitted a loud hum that echoed through the night. Jack felt a chill run down his spine as he gazed up at the alien craft, a sense of unease spreading through him like a shadow. Before any of them could react, the UFO surged toward their canoe, engulfing them in a blinding beam of light. Chuck screamed in terror as the intense light washed over them, his voice fading amid the mechanical whirring and crackling of static. When the light finally vanished, the 4 friends found themselves standing on the shore, their canoe overturned and their campsite in disarray. Confusion and fear washed over them as they struggled to make sense of what had just happened. Their memories fragmented, disjointed, as if obscured by a thick layer of fog. But as the night wore on, fragments of their adventure began to surface, haunting them like half-remembered nightmares. They recalled the strange, otherworldly beings with elongated arms and featureless faces, their eyes sparkling with extraterrestrial intelligence. They remembered being probed and examined, subjected to incomprehensible tests. But above all, they remembered the feeling of helplessness, the sensation of being swept along by forces far beyond their understanding. In the days that followed, Jack, Jim, Chuck, and Charlie struggled to come to terms with their harrowing experience. They found solace in each other's presence, sharing their fears and doubts as they grappled with the pain of their encounter. But deep within them, a lingering question remained unanswered. What had they truly encountered in the dark of the Allagash wilderness? The UFO abduction case was widely publicized in the United States. In the dim light of the night, Betty and Barney Hill were on their way home after a trip from Canada. The tranquil night sky was suddenly shattered by a strange, bright flying object. Despite their attempts to avoid it, they couldn't take their eyes off the peculiar phenomenon before them. The strangeness of this object caused them to lose control, and before they could comprehend what was happening, they vanished from their presence for 2 mysterious hours. When they woke up, they realized they were in an unfamiliar place, unable to remember any details of what had happened during that mysterious time. This mysterious disappearance left Betty and Barney in a state of anxiety and confusion. They felt like part of a larger mystery, and they decided to seek help from psychological experts. Through counseling and therapy sessions, Betty and Barney began to recall the vague memories of their strange hours. They remembered the sensation of being pulled into a flying object and being experimented on by strange extraterrestrial beings. However, as they tried to share their story with the outside world, they faced skepticism and opposition from those around them. Only a few people believed and supported them, while most regarded them as delusional or eccentric. Overcoming challenges and difficulties, Betty and Barney continued to seek the truth and justice. They met with UFO researchers and psychological experts, trying to gather evidence and proof to substantiate their story. Eventually, through patience and determination, Betty and Barney achieved recognition and acknowledgement of their experience. Their UFO abduction case became one of the most famous in the history of UFO research, and their story was recorded in pop culture, contributing to the understanding and interest in extraterrestrial life and the vast universe.